In Zio's kingdom, children were born with magic. But the magic did not awaken at birth. It waited for a very special key. It waited for courage. Everyone in the kingdom believed the same thing about courage. They believed it was loud. They thought it was a force that shouted, charged forward, and filled the air like a crack of thunder on a stormy night. And when a child's courage finally roared loud enough, their magic would burst awake. Golden flames would dance in the air. Crackling light would shimmer around them. Shimmering, undeniable power. That was the moment everyone waited to see. It was a spectacle, a celebration, a proof of strength. So the children gathered day after day in courtyards and training grounds, watched by hopeful parents, stern teachers, and ancient mages. They were all there for the same reason. To try and be brave enough, one by one they would step forward. Some would shout their names, their voices echoing off the stone walls. Some would lift their chins high, clench their small fists, and puff out their chest, trying to look bigger than they were. Others would simply pretend not to be afraid at all, putting on a mask of stone-faced confidence. But more often than not, the magic didn't come. The air would remain still. The expected bursts of light never arrived. And a teacher or a parent would step forward, place a hand on the child's shoulder, and say gently, "Not yet, little one," or "Be braver next time." Sometimes they'd say, "Try louder next time. Let the world hear you." Zio waited with them. He stood in those same courtyards, watched the same displays of forced bravery, and heard the same gentle words of encouragement that felt a lot like disappointment. Zio was different. He had light brown hair that curled softly at his temples and kind green eyes that seemed to watch more than they spoke. He saw the details others missed. The nervous twitch of a hand, the slight tremble in a shouted voice. And he felt courage. He felt it often. But his courage never roared. It was a quiet feeling, a steady warmth that settled deep in his chest. For him, courage felt like standing still when every part of him wanted to run. It felt like breathing slowly and deeply when his hands wanted to shake. It was the quiet decision not to look away from something that scared him. So when the other children shouted and postured, Zio stayed quiet. And just as the teachers predicted, nothing magical happened. As the weeks and months passed, a little seed of doubt began to grow in Zio's heart. He'd sit alone in the evenings, watching the lanterns flicker to life across the town, and he would wonder if something was wrong with him. Maybe his courage was simply too small, too quiet to be noticed. Maybe magic had looked at him and simply skipped him over, searching for a louder, brighter soul. The other children, and even the adults, were kind to him. They'd whisper encouragingly, "You'll feel it one day, Zio," or "It will come when it roars." Zio would nod and offer a small smile, but the quiet warmth in his chest never, ever turned into a fire. Have you ever felt brave without feeling loud? One cold winter evening, as the first snows began to fall, the entire kingdom gathered in the oldest part of the city. An ancient gate, carved with glowing symbols that hadn't shone for centuries, had mysteriously awakened. Legends said it was a gateway to the heart of magic itself, and it would only open when a child's magic appeared before it. The kingdom held its breath. This was the ultimate test. One by one, the children who were considered the bravest stepped forward. A boy named Kale, known for his loud voice, shouted a challenge at the gate. A girl named Lyra, who had won mock sword fighting tournaments, stamped her foot and declared she was not afraid of anything. They postured, they declared, they did everything they had been taught that would summon their power. But nothing happened. The gate's ancient symbols flickered weakly and then dimmed. The air grew heavy and quiet. A feeling of doubt settled over the crowd. It was in that heavy silence that Zio moved. He did not feel brave. In fact, he felt the exact opposite. His knees were trembling and his throat felt tight and dry. Fear was a cold knot in his stomach. But behind that fear, the familiar warmth in his chest was still there, a steady, gentle hum. And so he stepped forward anyway. There was no shouting. There was no grand pretending. It was just a boy who was terribly afraid and did not turn away. He walked slowly toward the ancient gate, his eyes fixed on the dimming symbols. And as Zio stood there, just being himself, afraid but present, something gentle happened. A soft light began to gather around his hands, not in a burst, but like fireflies finding their way home on a summer night. It wasn't loud. It wasn't wild or explosive. It was steady, calm, and pure. And the gate responded. The cold stone began to warm beneath his gaze. The carved symbols glowed with a soft, steady light, mirroring the light in his own hands. The magic had awakened. The crowd stood in stunned silence. A wise old mage, who had seen generations of children try and fail, walked over to Zio. He knelt beside the boy, his eyes full of a new understanding. He whispered so only Zio could hear, "Your courage didn't shout. It stayed." At those words, Zio felt the warmth in his chest finally spread, not as a raging fire, but as a calm, radiant light that filled him from head to toe. The other children watched, their eyes wide. They saw Zio, the quiet boy, standing in a pool of gentle magic. And as they watched, some of them felt something stir inside themselves too. Not a roar, but a quiet hum, a gentle warmth, a feeling they had always dismissed as not being real courage. That night, the kingdom learned something new and wonderful. They learned that some magic sparkled like frost on a window pane. Some magic healed with a gentle touch. Some magic glowed quietly, like a lantern in a thick fog, showing the way forward. They learned that not all courage roared, and therefore not all magic needed to. Bravery isn't always about being loud or fearless. Sometimes bravery is the quiet choice not to run. Sometimes it's just standing still when you want to hide. And sometimes it's being honest enough to admit that you're afraid and facing it anyway. And that kind of courage, the quiet kind, can wake the deepest and most beautiful magic of all. The world needs children whose courage does not roar, but stays. Like, and subscribe to Midnight Athena, where every night reveals another truth.